Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Sunday, October. No, it is not October. It is November the 2nd, and 2025, by the way. And I tell you what, it's quite warm this morning. Both feeling the pace a little bit here this morning. It's probably high teens at the moment. And as you can see, I've got the hoodie on there, just a light hoodie, but still sort of regretting it. I've just been passed by a few people that are out in the t-shirts and shorts, and I've got my trackies and hoodie on. So I'll learn for tomorrow, and only a short one today because Neil does tend to feel it on the warm days. So we'll take it nice and easy. All right, let's start with on this day. And I'm just going to get past this house here because there's always dogs in here that like to carry on, give us a hard time. Where's my phone? A little bit on this day. Let's go back to, well, a couple of birthdays today, actually. First of all was Michael Buffer, the legendary ring announcer. He was born in 1944, so what's that make him? 81 years of age. I didn't think he was that old. I knew he was sort of getting on a little bit, but 81 today. So happy birthday to Michael Buffer. But also, this is a guy that's probably not overly well known. His name is Stevie Cruz. He was born in 1963 in Fort Worth, Texas. He's the one that upset Barry McGuigan in his big American debut. I think it was at Caesar's Palace. For some reason, they decided to make his debut on a this is Barry McGuigan I'm talking about. They decided to match him up with Stevie Cruz on a day in Las Vegas in the middle of summer outside at Caesar's Palace. And this is an Irishman. Come here, buddy. Come on, off there. Let's get going. Another big dog. It's not liking the look of us there. Come here, buddy. But yeah, someone's bright idea was to have his big coming out party in the middle of the desert, in the middle of summer, an Irishman anyway. But that is what happened to Barry McGuigan. But yeah, don't take away from Stevie Cruz's great performance, and it is his 62nd birthday today. As far as events, what do we got? Where are we? I looked at a couple of minutes ago. 2002. Marco Antonio Barrera with a 12-round decision over Johnny Tapia. That was in Las Vegas. In 2013, in New York City, Gennady Golovkin with an 8th-round stoppage of Curtis Stevens in defence of that world middleweight title. So that's what's happened on this day. Jeez, I tell you what, walking up this hill is not much fun in this heat. And I reckon tomorrow, I'm just going to have a quick look at this, by the way. I reckon tomorrow it drops. It's it's supposed to be 26 here today. That is out of the box. It says it's currently 19. It's going to drop to 11 on Tuesday. That's what it's like living in Victoria, ladies and gentlemen. 26 on one day, 2 days later, it's 11. Anyway, let's move on. Now, there's been all sorts of talk about the Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis, quote-unquote, fight. Let's call it exhibition. And it looks like the fight is in real jeopardy. It looks like that, well, a lot of names were banded around, which was probably 99% bullshit, just rumour mill. But a couple of the names were Terence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to just come out a month. Because I think they're just going to reschedule the fight, by the way. If it does get cancelled with Tank Davis, which is in 2 weeks' time, I think it's going to be mid-December, I think they're looking at. So anyway, so they've asked Mayweather as if he's going to come out at a month's notice. Well, what is it? 6 weeks' notice, whatever it is. The other one was, Terence Crawford. I think he's enjoying just a bit of time off at the moment, Terence Crawford. And the other one that really sort of made sense but didn't, and that is Ryan Garcia. Now, come here, buddy. Morning. And Oscar De La Hoya has come out and, as expected, shot that down in flames. So I think Ryan Garcia, I'm not sure he's actually come out and publicly announced that he would take the fight. But Oscar De La Hoya has shut it down as quick as it's been raised because he's reminded all us fans, all the journalists, and especially Ryan Garcia, that you don't fight on Netflix, you fight on DAZN, and you also fight for Golden Boy Promotions. And Oscar, being the head of that said promotion, has said, yeah, not on my watch, not going to happen. So don't expect Ryan Garcia versus Jake Paul. So I don't know what's going to happen. Is there, well, especially getting towards the end of the year, it's not like there's going to be many active fighters around, so I'm not sure what they'll do. I think, if anything, they'll probably just scrap the event and hold it in the new year, probably January, February, something like that, and come up with an alternative situation for Jake Paul. I'm sure maybe they'll match him up against, geez, I don't know, who's the strawweight champion? Maybe they could match him up with him. That's the sort of fighters he'll like. Or who's the most or the oldest UFC champion? Maybe they'll match him up with a WWE former champion. Maybe they'll bring out someone like, I don't know, Ricky Steamboat. What's his name? Ricky the Steamboat, or I don't know, from back in the day with the WWE. Oh, that was his name, wasn't it? Ricky Steamboat, sorry. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched WWE. Maybe they could dig him up. I'm sure they'll find somebody, but I would think if Tank Davis actually has to, well, I'm going to say pull out of the fight, he won't be pulled out, or he won't pull out. Will be scratched, I would say. I would think they'll put it off until the new year and find someone a little bit suitable. I'm sure there's someone that they can get that they can exploit as much as they can. This exhibition never made sense to me anyway. I think I said yesterday that why would you bother? Understand the UFC fighters and the former former boxing sort of big names that he's fought in the past. They all have sort of a purpose, but Tank Davis makes no sense whatsoever, especially in exhibition. I don't get it. But anyway, we'll see what plays out with that. Not that I really give a shit, but it is a lot of talk going around at the moment. And this is what this is for, about talking about what's happening in boxing. And unfortunately, it's boxing news, as much as I hate to say it. So Tank Davis looks to be out of that. Now, the other thing is, as always in these situations, what happens to the undercard? We've got Sugar Neeks Johnson on the undercard defending that undisputed title. I can't remember. I haven't really taken much notice, to be honest, but I'm sure there's some other big fights on there. There's Alicia Baumgardner, she on there. But either way, you got to think about those fighters on there. I'm sure what they might actually do is, which would probably make sense if that fight does get cancelled, is just simply maybe move the. I was just going to say they can move the event and keep it on Netflix. It's free after all, so it's not like it's pay-per-views and all this sort of stuff that they've got to refund and all this sort of stuff. Or maybe they'll just have it in the same arena. Ticket sales are shit anyway, so you may as well just go on with the event. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that one. Speaking of Ryan Garcia, rumours just in the last sort of day or so that he could face Mario Barrios early in 2026. So that's not a bad fight. It's a very, very winnable fight for Ryan Garcia. But on the other hand too, I know we always talk about styles making fights and all this sort of stuff. I actually think Barrios would give Garcia some problems just by his style. He's nice and tight, good technique, just sort of keeps picking away and doesn't sort of open himself up too much. He could be a bit of a danger for Garcia, who's more of a sort of open up, sort of let him fly type of fighter and can get caught. And I reckon a disciplined fighter like Barrios, I'm not a big fan of Barrios either, by the way. I've got no idea how he's found himself a world champion, but he's tight, he's as I said, disciplined, and I think he could really give Ryan Garcia some problems. Because you look at the fight with Romero, not that I expect to see just a lackluster performance from Ryan Garcia again. You would hope not anyway. But if he fights something like that, I think Barrios could do what Romero did and just outbox him, just pick away the rounds, make him pay for his mistakes. I don't blame Ryan Garcia for going for the fight. I can't believe he's actually going to get a world title fight coming off a loss, but this is the way boxing works these days, isn't it? It doesn't matter what your last fight was. If you're the biggest name that makes sense, we'll just throw you in there and hope for the best. And obviously, Oscar De La Hoya is pulling some strings to try and get him that fight. Very, very winnable fight for Ryan. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Barrios actually outboxed him in that. If we see the same fighter we saw against Romero, who's I just cannot believe on a platform like that and what was at stake, that he fought that way. I know he's had some issues outside the ring, Ryan Garcia, but I don't care about that. You step in the ring, I expect a performance out here, just like I'm sure all you guys do and girls do as well. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But Mike Coppinger from the Ring magazine reported that he's in the work. So he's a very, very well-respected journalist, is Mike Coppinger. So I'm sure if he's saying it, it's got some weight behind it. What else have we got there? See that Mike Tyson held a commemorative day for Customato yesterday in, I think it was Catskill, New York, where Customato was based or lived, and where obviously Mike Tyson was from as well. He did it in front of probably, the irony is probably not lost on a few people, in front of the Catskill police station, which is where Mike Tyson apparently spent a lot of his time. Customato, of course, was the first trainer of Mike Tyson. I won't say he discovered him, because he was pretty much handed to him on a platter by a guard from one of the youth detention centres. I think his name was someone Howard, I think. I can't remember the exact name. Was it Steve Howard or someone like that? But he nurtured him, took him in, got him on his way through his amateur career. I think that if he's his pro trainer, it might have just been for a couple of fights. He passed away, I think, not long into Mike Tyson's career, when he might have still been a teenager, or maybe just turned 20 or something like that. Wasn't very old, and it obviously devastated Mike Tyson. And who knows what could have happened if Customato was around. I mean, it's a silly question when you think about it, because Customato, I think, was his 80s or something when he linked up with Mike Tyson. So it was always going to be a short sort of relationship. But the biggest question I've got out of everything is how good Mike Tyson could have been if he had stayed with his understudy in Kevin Rooney. Now, Kevin Rooney was the coach of Mike Tyson right up until, well, his last big win against Carl the Truth Williams. Well, not his last big win, but his last win before he lost to Buster Douglas. And he was always active, always very, very well trained. Mike Tyson always turned up, always mentally and physically, and was just a killer. Excuse me, a killer. And he knocked out Carl the Truth Williams in, I think, July or something of 1989. And he still would have only been, just turned maybe 23 at the time. And then the split happened, and I think at the time Don King and all his cronies had their fingerprints all over Mike Tyson, and were obviously directing him in a different path away from Kevin Rooney and his management team and all that sort of stuff. And he had, I think it was at 7 or 8 months out of the ring, which was something he'd never done before. He'd always fought, every couple of months with Kevin Rooney, and of course then. I think it was Aaron Snowell was the one that took over the reins with Mike Tyson, and then, of course, he lost to Buster Douglas, and that was sort of it for the Mike Tyson that we all knew and feared, I suppose. Well, the fighters feared anyway. He was just a killer. But at least it's good for him to sort of go back to his roots now. I would like for him to sort of make amends with Kevin Rooney. I'm not sure what the relationship is now, but as far as I know, it wasn't great. Kevin Rooney dumped all those years ago, and has pretty much held a grudge. I'm not sure what the status of those two is at the moment, but I would be hoping they would sort of, I won't say kiss and make up, but make amends anyway. It would have been great for Kevin Rooney to be there yesterday, but a really good gesture by Mike Tyson to do that in Catskill as a dedication to Customato. I'm not exactly sure what they did, to be honest. I'm not sure whether it was just a gathering or they had some events. I'm not quite sure. Didn't really see too much about it, but it was just a dedication day to Customato. So good on Mike Tyson for doing that. What else have we got? As I open up my phone here. Morning. All right, Bam Rodriguez, let's go. This way, buddy. Come here, man. Come on, buddy. Bam Rodriguez, he was interviewed yesterday, and he said that he was almost on the verge of fighting Junto Nakatani in this fight coming up. He's obviously fighting Martinez, but apparently, according to him, Nakatani was discussed, but then, of course, Nakatani moved up to 122. And the good news is that Bam Rodriguez said he still wants to fight Junto Nakatani at 122. No, hang on, was it 118? He wants him to come back, and he wants to fight Inoue at 122. So really good news in that you've got Bam Rodriguez saying, I want those fights because they are going to be two of the probably the biggest super fights at that weight that I think we've ever seen. And I'm wondering why Junto Nakatani decided to move up to 122. I know the Inoue fight is happening next year at some time, but I'm wondering why he moved up if there was discussions about fighting Bram Rodriguez in this next fight for both. But Junto Nakatani has got a fight coming up, and I can't remember who it's against. It's coming up on the big card on December 27th, I think it is. So I'm interested in the thought process of Junto Nakatani to have the Bam Rodriguez fight raised and then say, no, we're going to go up and have one more fight, or maybe even two, and then we're going to fight Naoya Inoue. Maybe the management have looked at it and said, well, the Inoue fight at this stage is a lot bigger than Rodriguez. Rodriguez is probably a fight that all the fans want, but maybe doesn't make a lot of business sense at the moment. I mean, you think about it, Nakatani and Inoue in Japan, both of those guys will probably make $30 or $40 million each. It's a big payday for both. Might even be more, I don't know. But it's a massive, massive fight. So while all us fans would probably like or love to see Junto Nakatani and Bam Rodriguez, probably makes sense that they're going to chase Inoue first and maybe see what Bam does. And you've got to remember, Bam Rodriguez is not even at 118 yet, but there was talk that he was going to go up instead of defending or unifying the belts in his next fight. So some big fights coming up in that division. I can't wait to have all those three fighters fight each other. Neither of the three, or none of the three, have had, in my opinion, sort of legacy fight. Yeah, and I know Bam Rodriguez has cleaned up a few of those former super flyweight, I suppose we'll call them legends, or the big names of the past. But Nakatani and Inoue still, even though they've sort of cleaned out the divisions as such, no really big fights there. So this is their chance to fight each other and really solidify their legacy going forward. So looking forward to what happens with that. And another possible fight that they're sort of even now are starting to gather momentum is Terence Crawford up against Janabek Alimkhanuly. Now, I know Janabek is going to get past Erislandy Lara first, but what's looking like it's going to happen is that obviously Janabek and Lara are fighting at the end of this year. I think it's December the 6th or December 13th, it might be. So they're going to fight. Then obviously Carlos Adames comes into the calculations, and apparently Janabek is saying to Crawford, don't worry about fighting Adames, I'll fight Lara, then I'm going to take care of Adames, and then you can fight me for all the belts. The problem with it is, of course, is that even if Janabek beats Lara in December, just the reason we're not moving here, by the way, the guys, is because of this. Hang on, I'll just give you a look. That's where we're at the moment. Hang on, there he is. There he is. Yep, we're all looking at you, buddy. He's decided to take a siesta. But yeah, the reason, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, if Janabek does beat Lara in December, you probably wouldn't fight till you think May or June against Adames next year. And Adames would probably want to fight in between as well, a defence, and probably has to have a mandatory or voluntary anyway. Then it would probably be the end of the year. Now, whether Crawford wants to hang around, or when did he fight? July. I don't think even Terence Crawford would want that long out of the ring. That would be almost 18 months out of the ring if it was the end of 2026. So he would want another fight. So I think the best possible scenario is that why doesn't Terence Crawford fight Carlos Adames maybe, I don't know, in March, April next year? Then fight Janabek or Lara at the end of next year for all the belts. But either way, I mean, I know the planets have got to align, and the big sort of spanner in the works is the fact that Crawford just fights once a year, so it's got to sort of be factored around that. But I love the fight, and it really gives a bit of a carrot for Terence Crawford to stay in the sport. I think if this wasn't happening with Lara and Janabek, you'd probably think it was... it'd be hard for Terence Crawford to get up, to really have something to strive for. But now all of a sudden, 3 out of the 4 belts are going to be in one fighter's possession. I think now it's like, all right, we're going to go down to 160, and this is our opportunity to be a 4-time undisputed champion, which is just, if it does happen, I'm not sure, well, you never say never, but I could never see it happening again. 4 times undisputed champion. It used to be hard enough to win a world title in 4 different divisions, let alone undisputed. I mean, can you get your head around that? 4 belts in 4 different divisions. It'd be amazing. So, and maybe that would definitely put Terence Crawford in the position of, you know, the Mount Rushmore talks. I still think he's a long way off that, but it would have to make him an all-time great, surely, being a 4-time undisputed champion. Just an amazing effort. And as I said, gives him a real incentive to stay in the sport, but it just has to align up as far as the fights go. And the good thing is that Terence Crawford, now, more than ever, really walks to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't have to wait for anybody. He dictates what's happening, who he fights, when he fights, all that sort of stuff. And that's something that you earn, and only those great fighters like a Canelo or Mayweather or Pacquiao or De La Hoya have the ability to do. So plenty to look forward to, I think, in 2026 in that middleweight division. I still can't believe, though, a lot of journalists are getting stuck into Terence Crawford about, oh, you're not a real champion until you fight David Benavidez and Bivol and Beterbiev. Let's just remember these guys are lighter heavyweights. He's just gone to 168, and they're actually rolling that out, that he's not, the Canelo fight means nothing unless he beats a Benavidez, who's talking about going to cruiserweight, by the way, or Beterbiev or Bivol, who are just legitimate 175-pounders. I just don't get it, some of these journalists, how they actually have a job, fair income. But anyway, I know in this day and age, it's good, though, because they're all held accountable by the fans. They don't just get to write their articles and publish them and that's it. It's online these days, so they cop it left, right and centre from everyone having their say. So keep at them and keep them honest anyway. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Have an awesome Sunday. How good is this? Look at behind me there. Just what a day. Beautiful, beautiful day. Hope it's the same where you are. Have an awesome Sunday. We'll catch you tomorrow.